game. So let's go into a little bit where we were right, where we were wrong this week.
First thing I want to shout out for me, um, the receivers of this class. I know it's only 2 games in, but I definitely think that I've missed on Drake London. Drake London looks like he's going to be a nice receiver for the Falcons. Jahan Dotson looks like his chemistry with Carson Wentz is there. So I think those 2 guys I was wrong about. I think I was right about Garrett Wilson. The other guys I can't quite wave the victory flag quite yet, especially with Sky Moore, who hasn't really got a lot of playing time for Kansas City yet. That's going to be a year or 2 before we get to figure that out. But where I was wrong, definitely Drake London and Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, and then I think I was wrong just picking the Titans to cover in that Bills game. There's no reason that you should lose by that much. I mean, the spread was 10. I'm like, yeah, that's a pretty reasonable cover. And then picking the Bears versus the Packers was just pretty silly on my part. And then
I think I could say picking Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, picking Kirk Cousins.
I will defend myself slightly. As soon as I made that decision, I was regretting it. I'm like, oh, I did just pick Kirk Cousins to beat Jalen Hurts and the Eagles on Monday Night Football.
On the road.
Oh, yeah.
In Philly.
Hey, listen, you can't win them all. In that game, I definitely took a few L's.
Yeah, but I would say we got the 49ers keeping Jimmy G is a good decision. I felt like I was right there. And then also, I'm going to take credit for predicting the Eagles, the Dolphins, and the Lions were all going to be good this year. I thought the A.J. Brown trade and Tyreek Hill trade were 2 of the best trades of the offseason. And with Waddle and Tyreek, I think the Dolphins have a chance to win the division because now they can put up points with the Bills. So if that defense sets up, they're going to be in a good form there. And then the Lions, I feel like they're going to be a really good team this year. A lot of teams will scoff at it because it's Detroit, but I legitimately think that Dan Campbell turned that team around, and I have a lot of hope for the Lions, and they're going to make the playoffs this year. Don't be surprised.
Did you see the clip of him when he was shouting out the guy who was on the practice squad for the last 6 years?
Yeah.
Had 3 stints on the Lions and 3 stints elsewhere, and made his first career start. And so they give him a shout out. Played pretty well. I think he was an offensive lineman, if I'm not mistaken. Give him a shout out. And you could see this man. I mean, first of all, the team cheering him on. And secondly, you see him breaking into tears. You can tell the journey that he's had in the NFL. So I'm really liking what the Lions have done. Those 3 teams we both were high on. I think we were also right about the Patriots. Patriots look pretty bad. I think we've gone over that quite extensively. Yeah.
And then who is your most surprising good team this week?
Most surprising good team? Honestly, if I had to decide, let me look at the schedule again.
Because for me personally, it has to be the Jaguars shutting the Colts out. I get that you have that streak and they don't play well in Jacksonville, but with how bad the Jags were last year, not having a competent coach, defense, everything they went through, I'm highly impressed that Trevor didn't turn it over and played well, was really efficient, and your defense shut out the best running back in football. I mean, that's huge. That's huge. Yeah. And it's surprising.
You know what surprised me? Granted, when we picked this game last week, I did pick the Giants, but the Giants in general, I mean, when we were going through our schedule, when the schedule was released, I picked the Giants to win like 3 games. And now they already have 2. I've liked the momentum that they've had. For a team that doesn't have a lot of talent, I think I've been super surprised with how I've seen them through the first 2 games. Don't think they're a playoff team or anything like that. But them, and then also the Falcons. I think the Falcons, the way they've played the first 2 games.
Good shout out.
Yes, they're 0-2, but they've been competitive in every game. They came back against the Rams. I think the Falcons deserve a lot of credit. This team, we thought the offense was going to be horrible. Marcus Mariota, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? Falcons have played pretty well, and I think they can get a win in the next week.
Yeah, and then lastly, the team we're both the most disappointed in, the Denver Broncos. Need we say any more? 16 points versus the Texans. It was a close game. You get pushed out of field goal range. You get a delay of game in a crucial moment. You're not using your star quarterback. You don't know what you want to do on offense. And your defense held a team to 9 points. Anytime you can do that, that's impressive. But it's like you won in spite of yourselves. And then you lose to Seattle in Seattle, which is probably one of the most important games of Russell Wilson's career. And then Seattle gets dominated by Jimmy G, who I heard is basically chopped liver at this point. No one
Oh
believes
yeah,
that Jimmy
Jimmy Garoppolo is the
Garoppolo comes
worst.
in a monsoon and leads the 49ers to a 27-7 win over Seattle, who you just lost to. So it's like it the Texans have to be the most disappointing team this week.
The Broncos, you mean?
Yeah, the Broncos. Texans, good for you guys. I'm proud of you for making it competitive.
I also want to say I'm pretty disappointed in the Bengals with how they played against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Um, I understand that offensive line takes a while to gel. I'm not pressing the panic button quite yet, but I'm pretty close to. I'm about 1 week away from saying, okay, this team, there's something wrong with this team. Make some changes, whether it be Zach Taylor or making a move. But
Whether it be Zach Taylor, that's a little soon.
well, I'm saying like when it comes to this offseason, if they start the season 0-3, it's
Yeah.
going to severely hurt their playoff chances. I mean, you got the Ravens, you got the Steelers, and hell, even the Browns are technically still in it at this moment. So the Bengals, they really need to figure out their offensive line quick. And that realistically, they got to figure out their offense because their offense has been pretty bad the first 2 weeks. And understand that offensive line, but at the same time, you have the best wide receiver core in the league, arguably. You have Joe Burrow and you have Joe Mixon. So that offense should not be scoring 17 points, and they shouldn't be losing to Cooper Rush. I can say all I want about Cooper Rush and all this. Cooper Rush did have a good game, but at the same time, you're the defending AFC champions, and there's no excuse for not beating the backup to Dak Prescott. Simple as that.
Yeah, and it's not like you have an easy schedule. Next week you have the Jets, and then it goes Dolphins, Ravens, Saints, Falcons, a little bit of a break in there. And then you have Browns, Steelers, Titans, Chiefs, Browns again, Bucks, Patriots, Bills, Ravens.
There's very few breaks in that schedule.
Yeah, you get about 4 gimme games, but if you're not gonna beat a team without their star quarterback that they just gave a ton of money, it's like that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign at all. So